What's up, everybody? Welcome to the State of Wild, episode 117, a regular YouTube video web series podcast thingy. My name is Meowth, and as usual, I'm joined by my two good friends and co-host Roffle and Corbett. Guys, how you doing tonight?
I'm doing great. Just got off of a long day of theory crafting, and it was so much fun that I've lost the desire to play Hearthstone until the new set comes out, is really where I'm at right now.
Yeah, I definitely echo that. It's very hard to play Hearthstone. It's very hard to go back in time, once you've already seen what is, to offer in the future. I'm doing great. There was an incredibly important sporting event today. I'm not talking about Australia getting kicked out of the World Cup. I'm talking about Lobby Legends, which is what I enjoyed watching all morning.
You and the 5 other people in YouTube chat, I'm sure,
Yeah.
really enjoyed that.
I gotta say, apologies, Corb. Both of our teams getting kicked out of the World Cup in the same day. We at least put up a little bit of a fight. I don't know what happened to Australia today. It was brutal, but
We don't have to talk about it. It's fine. We can praise our
we
past.
already have. It's fine.
Wait, the World Cup is happening?
Oh no, that's even worse
No
than
one-
you saying
no-
Lobby Legends jokes. Not like this.
No one told me about that.
All right, guys. This week we've got no more cards to review, so no 2-hour episode this week, I hope. But this week we're just going to be talking about kind of our experiences from the theory crafting stream, talking about things that we're excited about, stuff that we've tried, and kind of our predictions for decks that are going to work, that you should be excited for, or maybe scared of, in the new expansion, as well as checking out our predictions, registering those for our top 5 most powerful and our top 5 favorite cards from the upcoming set, March of the Lich King, which goes live next Tuesday. So probably by the time that you're listening to this podcast, it should be live for you guys to mess around with. But let's just go ahead and start. So yeah, Raffle kind of alluded to this. We were all 3 a part of the theory crafting stream this Thursday, getting to check out some of the new cards in Wild a little bit earlier. And so kind of just start off with just general impressions. Like now that you got to play with the cards, how are you guys feeling about the set in Wild?
It seemed like a relatively powerful set, like going into it, but I think I underestimated it. Like there are certain cards that seem good, and I'm just like, yeah, you'll see those in a few decks. But then like I started playing them, and I'm like, no, these are these are either build around cards or these go in like every deck. So I think it's even for the wild format, it was maybe underestimated a little bit. There are probably going to be some archetypes that are rejuvenated, as well as some that are outright created, if not like maybe deviating from an established archetype that we already have. So there's a lot of powerful stuff, and like maybe more powerful than I was expecting. Although major caveat that like the theory crafting metagame is much different than what you'll see when millions of players like actually get access. Like the whole point of the theory crafting is that you're tinkering and testing. So it could just be that I like by happenstance queued into some people that were tinkering and with something that is not going to be good. But for the most part, like I'm assessing this based off of like queuing into what appears to be established decks or like agreed upon strong decks moving forward. So yeah, set seems powerful. There are also a lot more. Some of the mechanics are also just very interesting and fun to play, more so than I expected, and we'll get into that as we go through some of the archetypes. But like, yeah, I had a great time. The theory crafting events are always fun, but this one in particular, compared to Murder at Castle Nathria, where it was just like a Denathrius Theo fest, this felt good. like it felt better. Like I enjoyed Murder at Castle Nathria obviously as well, and the metagame that followed, but this hit a little bit differently, and maybe that was the new class.
Yeah, I had a really good time, obviously, as well. Yeah, I would definitely agree that I was pleasantly surprised by some of the packages that I didn't probably give quite enough credit to. I think that like Wild is never going to be coming in and having like 10 different archetypes, just sweep the format at once. But I do think that this is going to be a bigger impact than average for Wild. The set is very, very strong. Some classes more than others, but we'll get into that in some of the most powerful cards and things like that.
Yeah, I echo all those sentiments as well. Well, let's just dive into it. Like Death Knight, big news, right? Brand new class with a brand new expansion. I know I played a lot of it. Roffle, I know you played a lot of it. I know I think you played 2 games of it. I mean, we can talk about kind of our initial impressions, right? Like, let's start with Even Death Knight, right? This is the thing that we were hyping up, right? If something was going to work in Wild, it was going to be the Even Death Knight deck. I tried a little bit of like 3 Unholy, and then I even like tried to mess around splashing a couple of other runes. What were y'all's impressions about the Even Death Knight? That I'm interested.
My version was not good. I'll have you know. I feel like put too much stock in Lord Marigar. He is not a strong enough finisher for Wild. He also has a little bit of weird antagonism with Stitch Giant, which is probably the better payoff card in that you want to hoard a bunch of corpses for Marigar, but you want to spend a bunch of corpses to get the Stitch Giant down early. So what ended up happening was I only ever really successfully played a good Stitch Giant, like the turn that Marigar came out, which is turn 8, first of all, which is way too late. And it required me to like, trade over one of my ghouls to make board space for it because honestly, I was just like stuck with these giants in hand for most of the game. So I don't think that going triple unholy is the way to go. I think if you're going to have like a big bomb finisher in that deck, it probably just wants to be Denathrius, which is not terribly interesting, and also 10 mana, which is 2 turns later. So like not as likely to be successful as say an even shaman that just like grips the board and kills you on turn 5. Which is, I think, what like an even deck like that would need to do in order to be successful. So it's just, it's not there. And so I don't necessarily see it being good enough. I think that there's maybe some interesting possibilities with like double Unholy Frost as a splash, because then you get like Defrost as a card draw. You get Thessarian, who is pretty good for, applying pressure as well as grabbing the board. So it could have just been that my build was bad, but like it didn't seem strong. The biggest issue I think was not like generating corpses, but having enough things to spend on them for the Stitch Giant, I think, is where the deck struggled. And I think that's something that Corb, predicted could be a problem going into it, and was honestly very correct about in the games that I played.
Yeah, my feeling on sort of like the problems with the deck, I think they were accurate, whereas I think I learned a lot about the deck building, like where like the packages fit and don't fit. So the general idea of like even DK as being like a supreme anti-aggro deck, that seems to hold up. Like this deck is really good into other aggro decks. Like you could, even if you get like blown out, there was a huge disco warlock swing that I played against, and I think I was actually playing as the Disco Warlock, and the opponent was playing as even DK, and I made this insane swing, and they just fought back like so efficiently with the Plague Strike, like a Murlocular came down, and they were just so good at controlling back and swing back board. And that's what we expected. But if you don't get Grave Strength, this deck has no lethality whatsoever. Like you've just got a whole bunch of like 1 and 2 attack minions, and they're just dirtling, and they're just like an issue. So the problems that we thought about this deck into like Reno decks, into combo decks, I think that's real. Like, I don't think you can fix that. So that was, I think, on point. The issue that I learned about deck building was I think the Giant just sucks. Like, I just don't think you can afford to play the Giant in the deck because the 4-drop corpse users, they just aren't good. They kind of keep overlapping and sort of getting in the way of each other. And what you really want to be doing is just like playing Grave Strength when you have it, when you have like the 5 corpses, and just like hope that you kill them if you are going triple unholy.
Yeah.
So, and you might not go triple unholy, but
yeah, because I felt horribly underwhelmed every time I played Grave Strength as well, because it's like even with like 4 or 5 minions on the board, it's like, well, my opponent still just cleared this board and then I lose. And like the fact that it doesn't help with the caboose at all is a pretty big deal for a deck that's trying to win board. Like it's for going back to the even shaman comparison, was it the health buff on the totems tends to be more impactful than the attack buff, right? Because there are easier ways to increase the power that you have on board than totemic surge. So yeah, Grave Strength for me was pretty disappointing because it like often what it did is it helped me, you know, gain back the board when my opponent started getting ahead, but then I'm just like left with the weak reborn minions that are left over. I'm not like actually, you know, applying any pressure after the Grave Strength because either my minions are gone or they're forced to trade.
Yeah, I will say though, I think if you do get some strong 4-drop enablers, because I think the 4-mana 2/4 reborn guy is trash. I think the like 4-mana summon 2/2/2s is trash. But like if you get some good enablers for the giant, then I think like even DK might be legit, because the turn a minion into a 4/5 with rush is like insane. Plague Strike is insane. Like you guys have mentioned, it's gonna be really good against aggro. It's just your meta is also going to be comprised of Big Priest and Quest Mage and Miracle Rogue, and you kind of just auto lose those matchups because you just can't kill people, which is a little bit weird. I will say though, it might be worth taking a look at some of the infused cards from Castle Nathria, because stuff like Murloccula was an insane overperformer. So much so that like stuff like Wisps and Haunted Creeper felt extremely strong in the deck to get Murlocculas down on turn 3 for 0 mana. And like there's a 2-mana 2/3 that becomes a 4/5 taunt, and like low-key think that might be actually just pretty good in something like even Death Knight as like your really bad but like a thing from below style card, where like on turn 3 turn 4 you like make this big swing with these 4/5 taunts. And then yeah, so I think Sylvanas also, like all these infused cards that are even, I think are really powerful in even Death Knight. I just don't think they're strong enough to beat the control decks. And so I can see it. Like if you want to play Death Knight, we'll talk about some couple of options. Even Death Knight might be one. I just like don't expect to beat stuff like Big Priest, because I just don't think you can.
And I just want to put it out there, man. This deck was boring. Like, I realize people can play different things. Like, everyone has their own preference.
Yeah.
Holy crap, I did not like playing even Death Knight. And that is part of why I only played, like, 2 games of it. Because I just wanted out immediately. There's not the most fun play pattern going on.
No, it's like... It really is just like an even shaman from the 1990s. Like, it's like... Which is one of my least favorite decks in... like Hearthstone history. At least now it's a little bit more interesting because you have like big power spike turns that at least feel good to do, but it's just like it's even shaman without all the big power spikes, which is what makes even shaman competitive right now.
So it's even paladin.
It's like a more boring even paladin.
Yeah, it really is. At least in even paladin you have Hand of Vidal, so you get to like draw a card. Sometimes you're running bridge, you have Call to Arms. That's exciting to play.
Crab Rider's cool. Like, I like crabbing people, but yeah. Oh.
Yeah.
I mean, you can grab people in even Demon Hunter as well. It's just
I guess
you have less reason to.
Yeah.
Yeah, with one buffs, right?
Yeah. But I mean, we can talk about the other fun DK stuff that I know nothing about, but you guys got lots of experience with it.
Good transition, Corb. I mean, Roffle, I know you were the guy that played like 5 hours of Death Knight, right? Like, you take it away. What other fun stuff did you do? Because I know I played Reno. I think you played a lot of other stuff, though. So I'm just going to let you take it away with your brews of Death Knight.
Yeah, I played, well, both on and off stream, I played a lot of blood, like just pure blood Death Knight. I was playing, before some of the wild portions started, just off stream to like see how it was. And I realized after a while I'm playing 3 wild cards in the deck because, Death Knight is a new class. I was playing double Dirty Rat and a Lothab. So I'm just like, what am I doing with myself? I might as well just like start the stream early and start queuing up standard since that's going on. But before even playing in standard, like in wild, I was surprised at how reasonable it was. Like it's very good into aggro, obviously. But like with those Dirty Rats, Mutanus and Patchwork has reasonable game into combo, and also like any damage based combo, Vampiric Blood does a lot of work to get you out of range. Like you don't realize how quickly 10 health matters, right? And then on top of that, you're cycling a card, and you can get and then stay out of range with the healing of both aggro and certain combo decks pretty easily. And that felt good. Just run a basically just felt like playing Odd Warrior, but a little bit more active than just press the button, pass, press the button, remove a thing, press the button, brawl, press the button, uh, pass. Like it is really what it feels like um, with Odd Warrior sometimes. But like this, it was an attrition deck that could then maybe turn up the pressure once you had clear skies moving forward. So that was probably the most fun Death Knight deck that I played. I had some opponents playing a Reno version of it that looked pretty cool as well. What was it? Soul Stealer? The 8-mana Twisting Nether is absolutely nutty. That card won me games and lost me games when played against me so many times. Like, you talk about an 8-drop compared to Lord Marigar for 3 of the same rune. My God, it's not even close. Soul Stealer is just the absolute nuts. On top of clearing the board and providing it feels like it should be the opposite, right? It generates corpses for everything it kills. It feels like it should require you to pay corpses for everything. Every time I played that card, I'm like, this has to be a misprint. This is backwards from what like reality should be. Because then it just like juices whatever it is, your next few copies of Vampiric Blood, because it's so easy to generate those and can, like, I was getting to 70 health with ease on a regular basis just by like using Discover effects to generate more Vampiric Bloods in it. It wasn't always the right play, but it always felt like the right play. So this is going in. This is the Death Knight deck that I was the most excited for, I think. But I was very skeptical that it was going to be like at all playable. I thought it was just going to be a big old punching bag that that like just got beat up by whatever the opponent was doing, and it didn't feel that way. So hopefully that's the case after the fact too. And it didn't feel that way to play against either. Like the Reno version could generate a decent amount of value. It kind of felt like similar to like a Reno Paladin, where it can just kind of make a guy and like fight for board that way, and then a few big power spikes along the way to close out the game.
Yeah, I played a little bit of the 3 Blood Reno deck, and I will fully admit I was playing a very greedy deck because I was like, theorycraft stream, I can make stuff like Ashmore work, right? Like these amazing cards that I want to play. But it like felt good, right? Like Soul Stealer, Patchwork, all like Vampiric Blood. Oh my god, dude! I plus 59 somebody. That's my goal in the brand new expansion. Renathal Reno Lock with 2 Vampiric Bloods, like one obviously discovered, and then I want to plus 59 somebody.
I thought you were having a Twitch chat moment there where you're gonna run to, because you would not believe how many people suggested that as a deck. Like, but
to be completely fair, my main issue with that deck is not like the staying alive or things like that. It's like you generate a lot of corpses actually, but you're in the blood deck. You don't have anything to spend it on. Like if you're playing the 3 blood deck, and so like you're killing people with like Patchworks and N'Zoths and things like that, but you're not really using the corpses a whole lot. And so I'm not sure. There's probably a way to address that in the deck building, but.
No, you just discover more copies of Vampiric Blood, and then you have things to spend
There
corpses
you go.
on. Like I don't see the problem here.
Yeah, it does feel like a Reno Paladin or like a Reno Hunter style of deck, where like it's not probably going to be top tier, but like it has yellow cards, it has disruption, right? Like it can't be terrible, right? And then another deck that I want to talk a little bit about is I played a little bit of 3 Frost Aggro, with like a bunch of the weapons, the 6-mana Pyroblast on a stick, right? Like consume 5 corpses, deal 2 damage equal to the number of corpses. And then I topped out with 2 of the Frostworm's Fury, which is like very reminiscent of Snowfall Guardian, by the way. It just frees the entire board, deal 10, which was just kind of gross. And that deck actually did surprisingly well. And so again, I think my build was a little bit greedy. Kind of refined it as we were theorycrafting it, but it felt like it had a lot of legs, right? The 4-mana weapon is extremely strong. Frostworm's Fury is really strong. The 6-drop, like the one that deals damage, plus the legendary that draws you 2 cards. Like all 4, those cards feel very powerful. probably don't do a whole lot against Miracle Rogue, but you like have freeze effects to like maybe buy yourself some time. But another deck to I think keep an eye on, because I think that one actually, we talked a little bit about it when we were talking about our card reviews and stuff. But it does seem like that deck has a little bit of legs as well.
Yeah, I agree. I played a Reno version of it with some pirates in the early game, and the pirates seemed disappointed. It seemed like I just wanted to do the like I won games by doing the frost stuff. Like Overseer Frigidara is incredible. The deck was lacking like something to do with the corpses, and it's probably because I wasn't triple frost for the Marrow Manipulator, which, you know, every time that card was played against me, I was just like, that's a good card. And so like I probably would have been better off just going triple frost. I think I was double frost single blood, and I think that was a mistake. I think that there's probably something to like you know, something similar to what you were doing there, where aggressive early game finish with spells, and the Marrow Manipulator, maybe a Polk Out thrown in there to ensure that you get the Manipulator and the Overseer on a regular basis. The hesitation I have is like, what were you doing in the early game, I guess is my question.
I was doing pirate stuff as a way to like
Okay.
generate the corpses, but I was like full pirate package with brigands and cannons and things like that. It wasn't
probably the
great,
way to go.
but yeah. Hey,
I mean,
dude, ships, cannon, and patches saves a lot of wild decks, and so
right, and like basically you just need to spend mana in the early game, and you generate some token minions so that you have the corpses ready to go for either the Might of Menethil or the Marrow Manipulator. And honestly, like the Frostworm's Fury or Ultimate Infrostation, like every time that was played against me as well, that seemed like it was overperforming. And it felt like the frost version of Vampiric Blood, where people were just like trying to generate it as much as possible, especially when I was, you know, in my foray in standard, and it never seemed bad when it was played.
it definitely felt like pre-nerf Snowfall Guardian, where it's just like, oh, it freezes the board, deal a bunch of damage. Oh, freeze the board again, deal a bunch of damage. So yeah. Kind of on that note, and to kind of wrap up the Death Knight stuff, because I can see Corb getting a little bit bored over there, because he has no idea what we're talking about. Now, I think spell generation is going to be really, really powerful when it comes to Death Knight. We talked about this a little bit. I think Wandmaker is very mediocre / bad, because the 1-cost spells are like, they're powerful, but they're very situational. So if you get the wrong one, you just put a 2-mana 2/2. But I think School Teacher is like absolutely insane. And bear with me here. Arcane Dynamo actually is, like, if you're playing a Reno deck, seems very powerful, because there are 5 spells that cost 5 or more, so you're very likely to get Frostworm's Fury or Blood Boil or Corpse Explosion, which seem very strong. So, like, as weird as it might be to play the 6-mana 3/4 in your deck, if it's a 6-mana 3/4, discover a Frostworm's Fury or a board wipe, it might actually be worth it. So.
Yeah, and like especially if you're in that triple blood the Reno deck, like first of all you're hurting for card slots, and second of all, like generating a Frostworm's Fury in that deck is obscene. So like the ability to generate cards that are outside of the rune allotment that you built with makes those cards a lot different. We talked about like the Vizier, and even I saw Pandarian Importer played against me and it was good. Like Martian played the Arcane Dynamo and I panicked and I just like started spamming a bunch of mana burns, because I'm just like, I can't let him have enough mana to play whatever he got. I don't know what he got, but I'm terrified of it. And so yeah, I think that I think Dynamo is legitimately an inclusion in a Reno Death Knight for the time being, until like the spell pool expands.
Martian said that there was 5 cards that you can get, so like what does that put you at? I'm not sure what that means. 60% then to get the to get the good one, right?
But the thing is, there are multiple good ones. Like Blood Boil is absurd.
Oh, I was mainly thinking of the AoE freeze and deal one, but yeah,
Right.
you're right. There are multiple good ones.
But like even Corpse Explosion in certain instances is, you know, very like you're guaranteed to get one of those 3, so you can deal with a big board the following turn, and it's gross.
Yeah. All right. So Death Knight, I think, kind of our safe being safe about our predictions here. Like, I think it's going to be playable, right? I just don't think it's going to be super competitive.
Yeah.
I'm not even sure. Like, I think in standard, it's going to be the best class, like by far. If probably, nah, by far might be a stretch, but probably the best class in standard. Kind of gives me a bit of a hope for it in wild. Like I was more impressed from the theorycraft than I expected to be from the like control, like the slower the Renathal Death Knight decks. So that was a bit of a surprise. I think there might be something there.
Yeah, I mean, it's going to be the one that's like the most hard to assess, both before and after the theory crafting, or as a result of the theory crafting, just because like nobody was going to be anywhere close to a refined list coming into the
You
theory
say that,
crafting.
but Corb was playing Miracle Rogue, so I don't know.
That's what I'm saying, because Miracle Rogue has like a standpoint. Like I'm talking about specifically for Death Knight. Nobody's going to go into playing Death Knight with a refined list because there's no like foundation to start with. With something like a rogue, you have that foundation of Miracle Rogue. You know where the floor is, where the starting point is, and you can go from there. With Death Knight, it's just kind of all over the place, and so like nobody's going to come up with a perfect 30, perfect 40 for any of the Death Knight decks. Like the only saving grace is that there's very few cards, so you don't have a lot of options. You can't mess it up too bad. Like you play the powerful stuff, and you don't play the bad stuff, I guess.
Yeah. All right. So Death Knight. Let's talk about some other decks that we messed around with. I keep giving Corp a little bit of crap about Miracle Rogue because he was playing some Miracle Concoction Rogue for like 3 or 4 hours, and it actually seemed really fun and really good. So I'm gonna let you take it away with this.
First of all, lies and slander. I just like queued into you when I happened to try it early in the stream, and then I switched, and then I ended up trying it for the last like 90 minutes. So first of all, no, there wasn't 3 hours of Miracle Rogue. Get out of here. But man, it was really fun. It was really fun. Like, oh my god, I did not expect the concoctions to feel that powerful in Miracle Rogue. But holy crap, they're like really good. And there are a few cards in particular which were absolutely mental. I don't know if we want to like spoil some of the top 5 powerful conversation that we're gonna have later, but man, the concoctions in general were just fantastic.
I was surprised by how often you were getting like the draw 2 off the concoctions as well, which was like that seems absolutely insane in something like a Miracle or Tempo Rogue, right?
Well, the numbers are basically like off the belt, right? Like the Discover. You're like 86% to get a single copy of like the one you want. So if you if you discover, then 86% for draw 2 is crazy, and it means that you're at like 36 to double up. Like there's a 36% chance that if you play Potion Ball that you get like a 3-mana sprint, which is crazy. So yeah, you just never run out of resources if you're playing Miracle Rogue. I mean it's probably less explosive than current Miracle Rogue, but you have so much more value, and you have the like destroy a random enemy minion. So like even in mirror situations, like the opponent pops off first, you have a lot more like ability to swing back the board and things like that. So I don't know, it was very, very fun. It was a fun package, very strong.
Yeah, I was playing a version with just like a pirate opener, like more of a just like a tempo rogue type thing. And yeah, there are some very strong cards there. The concoctions themselves seem fantastic. Like most of the mods are just like fine as 3-mana spells, but then you get like to double up its effectiveness in some cases. One thing that I'm really interested to try once the expansion hits is just like a Burgle Rogue with them, because there's a Burgle mod that's pretty good. I got a 2 or a 3-mana Tavish that was that was nutty, and I just turned into a hunter for a while, and yeah, so it can do really silly things, and even the only like disappointing, I think, like mod that you get is summon a 3-mana minion, just because it's like it just, I don't know, didn't seem like helpful for what I was trying to do. But like deal 3 is good for getting more potion or concoctions off of Putricide, or even like the Destroyer random gets you more concoctions. Like they just play nice with one another and with the package in general.
Yeah. And let's not ignore the fact that most of the time you are not spending 3 mana for these, which is what I think makes them even more insane. Because you can keep shadow stepping that 2 mana 3/2. And we can spoil, I guess, our top 5 a little bit. Dude, Putricide is like absolutely insane. Like, regardless of what kind of concoction rogue you're playing, this card is busted.
Yeah, it's terrifying. Like I was playing against it for the first time, and like I just randomly, like I wanted to set up a kill with like a plague strike or something. So I ran my 1/1 into the Putricide, and then I saw the animation play, and I was just like, wait, what? Why? And I realized that I reread the card, and it gets you a concoction on any minion's death, not only friendly minions. And that is significantly stronger than what I initially assumed the card was, because you can't even like trade over it in the early game very effectively. You just have to like give them concoction sometimes, and that feels bad. So I wish somebody had told me to read the card closer before I made a dumb play into it.
Yeah, it feels a little bit kind of like a quarter creeper situation where like people I don't think realize like how insane it is triggering off of enemy minions as well. But yeah, we'll talk a little bit more about Putricide, a little bit of a spoiler alert. All right, let's talk about a couple of other really good decks that we kind of predicted were going to be good. So like Discard Warlock got a couple new tools, right? The 3 mana draw 3, discard a card, the 0 mana 2/5 taunt, the 0 mana deal 6. Seem really, really powerful in combination. So not really a new card from this expansion, but Tome Tampering. We've been using it in a kind of combo shell for the past couple of months. I think now it's finally being used for its intended purpose of discarding Hand of Gul'dans and Fist of Jaraxxuses and 0 mana deal 6s while developing a shit ton of tempo, and then drawing you some cards if you do it with a Malchezaar's Imp, or developing like a 15/15 Tiny Knight of Evil. Yeah, it seems like Discard Warlock feels real, like just like we might have expected. It feels like it's doing a very powerful thing, at least.
Yeah, some of the best discard cards that my opponents played against me were Tome Tampering and Cataclysm. Like, just flat out. Like, both of those seemed actually pretty good because of, like, the high density of when this is discarded type things in the deck that exists now. So, like, Doomguard's gone. Like, a lot of the singular or even double discard Matron gone. Like, you don't need that type of thing. You just play the bulk discard and go for it. And Tome Tampering, like, it's a small thing, but Tome Tampering does actually play around the issues that the deck had with longevity in the past, where you just like empty your deck and then you don't have any more resources, because it effectively doubles up some of the resources that are of the highest impact by like shuffling them back into your deck if you don't have a Malchezaar's Imp, or even if you do. Like, it's still better than discarding that many cards with a Malchezaar's Imp on the board and not shuffling. So, like, that's kind of a minor thing, but, like, that is a sticking point that the deck did have, on occasion, where it would just, like, it would deck itself and not have the lethality to finish the game, especially with 40 health decks now. And so that gives it a little bit of a boost. But I think the big thing is just, like, the Soul Barrage is the Walking Deads, and the ability to just like pitch your hand with those bulk discard things.
Yeah, Disco Warlock was definitely like the early star. Obviously it's like probably like the most flashy thing that anyone could have done. It's just like, Tome Tampering on 3 and just like deal 16 damage, draws 6 cards, like that's make Tiny Knight an 11/10 or something, like on curve. Very, very flashy, and its high rolls are quite absurd. So after playing a few games, I was kind of just like, oh god, is this gonna be like tier 0? Is this like this completely and utterly broken? I don't think that's true. Like, I think the deck is it's obviously not the most consistent archetype that we have rolling around. Like the high rolls are absurd, but sometimes things sort of clunk together. It doesn't actually like put on much board pressure, so against like some combo decks, I can actually see things like Quest Mage just being totally fine to this, because they're not just taking like repeated chip damage and the block eats up the lethal and yada yada. Like, it's hard to lethal before turn 5, turn 6 sometimes. And yeah, and even like the Renathal decks. I think like the Reno Renathal decks can present a real problem. It's something that I found, and part of why I was so impressed by Death Knight was because I thought that the control Death Knights were very good into the discard Warlock a lot of the time. You know, they had such a high health pool and just couldn't really kill them. And then all of a sudden there was a 5 mana or 5/5 twisting that came down, and the game was kind of over. So I think Disco Warlock is just going to be like another disgusting early game high roll deck. How good it is exactly, I'm not sure. I'm sure it'll be competitive, but I don't think it's going to be good enough to be like, tier 1 or anything like super close to that. But man, it's just more of a blowout deck than ever before, and it was already one of the biggest high roll decks in Wild's history, I would say.
Yeah, it reminds me a lot of Mech Mage, where it like vomits, right? And the stats are the way it develops its stats, obviously a little bit different, but like vomit stats deal damage, but instead of Mecha Shark, you're doing like Soul Barrages and discarding these 0 mana cards. I just think that like the upside of like Tome Tampering into Tome Tampering and just like killing people on turn 5 is like extremely appealing, and people are going to want to play it because it's new. It feels really, really good when you do the dumb thing, and it's like probably not going to be super like consistent, like you said. So, but don't get me wrong, it was a lot of fun to play. I know we were playing a little bit before the theory crafting stream. It's really fun to play. All right, another deck here. We've talked about it a little bit during the theory crafting that we expected it to be good. Talk about a little bit of Aggro Paladin, right? With like this 7 or 8 new cards, right? Blood Matriarch Leodrin, the new 1-drop, the 4 new buff spells, primarily are what I'm thinking about here. I don't know if you guys played a lot of that deck during theory crafting. I know, Corby, you mentioned you played a little bit, right?
I played enough. I went like 6-0, and I was like, that's enough of that. like we can move on to something else. Yeah, I tried a few games of the egg version, and then I played like the secret version. I felt like the secret version was better, but I was basing that off a whopping like 2 game sample size, so I have to wait and see on that. But yeah, Crab Rider good. Buff's good. Leodrin giving Crab Rider and Weblord Divine Shield, and Katori Divine Shield, very good. Cool Times is now better than ever before. That seemed very strong. Like it's kind of just lived up to expectations, I would say. It's kind of not a shocker.
Yeah, Seal of Blood in particular seemed outrageous. like that card. I didn't get a chance to play the deck. I had one built and it was ready to go, but I played against it a lot, and every time Seal of Blood was played against me, I just suffered. It was just it honestly ended a lot of games for me, because it's just like, well, I can't get through this Weblord now. I can't deal with this Weblord now, so I can't play all these Battlecry minions, which would deal with the Weblord. Or if I'm playing aggro, I can't get through this Taunt anymore because it's now a 4/4 with a renewed Divine Shield. So it's like, yeah, that card is incredible.
Yeah.
Oh, and one thing, I was a little I had a tiny little bit of doubt about like the 1-drop, because it's a Battlecry in a Weblord deck. But it felt like totally like fine, just because obviously you can get under the Weblord you played first. And yeah, this works really well with like Redemption. Like you just like play the 1-drop on 2. If you have a sword on 1-drop on 1, the sword on 2. It's just very sticky and a lot of pressure, especially leading into that Seal of Blood turn on turn 3.
Yeah. So I think a lot of the cards from the Aggro Paladin deck are just, I think, impressive. Like even for Kel'Thalos, I didn't see a whole lot of like aggro mirrors. But like I can see that overperforming in the aggro mirrors as well. Like I was scared to ping off the Divine Shield on the 1-drops, because like, they're just gonna coin and put another Divine Shield and I'm gonna lose my minion anyway. It's like I don't know that I want to do this, but which is scary.
I will say I made a 20 attack Crab Rider, which was quite impressive.
That's cheating.
It's like turn 6.
God, I love that. All right, let's talk about a noob. Let's talk about Druid. And let's talk about some dumb things that you can do with this card. Okay, so a Nubricon, the one that says you may gain 8 armor, you may spend armor instead of health to cast, or what is it, armor instead of mana to cast minions this turn. So we have a Stealer of Souls situation theoretically, because Violet Illusionist means that you don't lose the armor. So You can play infinite minions as you have board space. I don't know if there's a combo deck that you can do stuff with. I triggered some PTSD of some viewers by playing some Snip Snap combo and making some big ass mechs. I don't know if that's the best thing to do, because the couple times that I did it immediately got removed and I was sad. But then I killed people with branching paths on the little 1/1 mechs, so it didn't matter. But I know that like you can do some really silly shenanigans with like Bran and Noob, Violet Illusionist, Astalor, and just like play 2 of the 8 drops and deal 1,000,000 damage. You could also just like play it with dragons, right? Alex Raza, and kill people with Alex's and Denathrius's and things like that. It just seems like a very solid card, whether you're playing like a dedicated combo deck or you're playing just like Reno Druid or Dragon Druid. Astalor is just the next legendary in the line of broken mana cheating things that Druid kind of does. And I think it kind of lived up to those expectations. It felt very powerful.
Yeah, in my experience, the illusionist is helpful for getting you online earlier, and without things like innervate. I had pretty much the same situation with Snip Snap, where every single time I did the Snip Snap combo, it immediately got answered. So like I think we're a little bit in a different place for like current modern Hearthstone versus when Snip Snap was popular, as well as just like the speed is a little bit slower even as a Druid than Snip Snap was at the at its peak. So you do still have to, in that case, get to 8 mana for the combo, which does take some time. So even using Druid math, like on that turn, you probably want a combo that's ending the game. So I think that like a dragon combo or I think Astalor is probably the simplest to do because it's a 3-card combo. You can play Bran into, if you have 11 mana, or an Innervate, which would I guess make it a 4-card combo. But you can play Bran into a Nubar Rakan, and then you can just like that's all you need because of the if you haven't played the first instance of Astalor yet, I believe the second instance actually gains you mana because it's gaining you 10 armor and you're paying 5. So like you end up just being able to play 2 of the 8 mana Astalors anyway, and you have the board space for it, right? Because it's Bran, Anubarak, 2 mana, which adds 2 5s to hand. You play 2 of the 5s. That's now 5 minions. Then you play the 2 8s, and you have exactly enough board space for that. So like without a Violet Teacher getting in the way, like that's the easiest like damage combo that you can do with it. But you could also use Alex as a or OG Alex Draza to like deal a bunch of damage, open up some board space so that you don't have to play 2 of the 8 drops. So I think with that, we were kind of talking beforehand. You mentioned that Reno Druid just might be the better place for it, and I think that's again one thing that Corb predicted. Like Reno Druid is already a pretty competitive deck, doesn't quite have the same lethality that like some of the other slow Druids have, because it doesn't have like the consistent draw. But like if you can draw a Nubarak or a Nubarkan with just like an assortment of minions, that kind of ends the game, is really what it comes down to. Bran and an assortment of minions. If one of those minions happens to be Astalor, great. If it happens to be like all of the Alex Drazas, great. Like they're also dead. So yeah, it's I think overperformed my expectations a little bit. I think I was sleeping on just how effective the mana cheating was going to be, with how little compared to like a Celestial Alignment or even like a Twig Sphere, how little other investment you have to give into the combo, into the deck, which makes it perfect for like a Reno Druid, to be honest.
Yeah, leaning like fully into it with the Violet. Well, it is like very funny, and very powerful when it works. Don't know if it's like worth it. I did enjoy making my Snip Snaps, but at the same time, if I had have just played like a Denathrius, that probably would have gotten the job done anyway. So, don't know about like that one, but yeah, I mean, the splashing it in like the current Dragon Druid seems really good. In particular, Rena Druid, like Roffle said, pretty much like any Druid deck that's just playing like Denathrius, Nastalor, Bran, like you guys know it. Like you just throw it in that kind of Druid deck, and it'll be fine. Like you'll the fact that it just can kind of mishmash with so many of the minions into like an OTK is what makes it great, right? It doesn't need to be built around anything specific. Obviously, the Astalor is sort of like I think the best thing that it can do, particularly when doubled up with Bran. But yeah, I mean you can just do cool things with Floop, with Alex, things like that. Mana cheating strong, Druid strong.
Cool things with.
Well, I mean, if you're playing as the Druid, I'm sure you think it's cool. But yeah.
Yeah, it's the latest in the line of like you just shove it in the good stuff Druid, right? Whether you're playing like the 40 card non Reno or you're playing the 40 card Reno, and it's just gonna like shine because it just synergizes so well with everything in there.
Yeah, mana cheat Druid. It's great.
Yeah, there you go. That's the appropriate name. Do we just call it Guff Druid or is moved on from Guff Druid to Mana Cheat Druid? Yeah.
How about Twitch chat Druid, since it always has infinite mana?
I like it.
I like that. Yeah. All right, so let's move on to a couple more of the kind of the fun decks that we played, stuff that might not be top tier, but we had a lot of fun, some cute things that you can do with some of the new cards. And obviously, we're not going to be able to touch on everything. These are just stuff that we tried during the theorycrafting stream. And let's start with Spell Demon Hunter. I know I played a little bit of this. I think, Roffle, you played a little bit of this as well. Basically using Roffle's revealed cards. Soul Stealer Scythe. The animation looks just as good in game as it does during the little reveal video that you had because it's sweet. I played it with a relic package. Like the Scythe is cool. I think the other two cards that you revealed, the 2-mana deal 3 and the 4-mana deal 4 summon 4/1/1s, those are the highlight of the deck. Those cards are actually just insane.
Yeah, I was playing a Jace double Yogg version, and I went 9-2. Mostly because of those two cards that you mentioned, Mark of Scorn and Feldori Warband. In particular, the Feldori Warband just like ends the game against aggro. You just win, like on the spot with the card. It also goes face very well. Like 4-mana deal 4 and then make a board is like just good as aggression. So I was, as the aggressor, also ending games before I got the Jace, just because like that card applies so much pressure. So like you put this in the meme deck category or the fun deck category. I think there's some legs to it. Like if it hits the right matchups, I was playing a intentionally bad version without the relics. I think it gets so good with the relics, and I think it's like a legitimate deck. I went 0-3 against it as well. I think I queued into Zeddy playing it 3 times and just like I just felt completely and utterly helpless against it, playing something that was aiming for board because Feldori Warband is just absolutely nuts. And I will say that like Deal with the Devil actually massively overperformed my expectations as well. The 9 healing against aggro is pretty gross too. So it also gives you like, you know, a decent amount of pressure against decks that clear your board and whatnot. So I think it's close. I think that like a few more powerful spells and it gets there.
Yeah, this is why the deck's gonna be like tier 1 standard, because like it feels pretty good in Wild with only a couple additions, right?
Right. I think an aggressive latest Atheno version would probably be pretty good in Wild, and like probably just the nuts in standard. Like I don't know if it was just having a good run of luck, but like I don't know, you throw some mana burns and twin slices in that standard version of the deck and you just bash face a bunch. That seems pretty good to me. Like I don't know.
Yeah. A little bit of a warning though. I saw this happen to Martian, and so I just want to make sure that everybody else that's listening knows this. So Martian was playing a 40 card Spell Demon Hunter. And the Scythe triggered before his Renathal did. And so while he had 40 cards in his deck, he didn't get the start of game trigger with 40 health. I believe this is a bug. I believe it's a bug. But just to know, if you're playing this on day 1 and the bug is not fixed, you might not get your 40 health even though you're running 40 cards, which is extremely
I'm not sure
weird.
it's a bug. I think it got confirmed as it's meant to work like that.
Oh, well then
Really?
I may have misled some people.
I believe I saw someone say Celestalon mentioned it on Twitter, but I'm working from a few days back on memory here.
I know that he mentioned specifically Cthulhu always breaks apart first. So why wouldn't Renathal have his start a game trigger first as well? Like, yeah.
No, I might be remembering wrong. Like, I don't
No,
know.
I know. No, I'm just trying to save face in case I misled a bunch
In case
of people
you're, yeah, right,
in
right,
my
right.
reveal video because I explicitly mentioned Renathal.
So
I heard the words Roffle lied in my Twitch.
Yeah. Roffle did lie, but just be careful. Just watch out for it if you guys want to try Renathal version. Until we at least get some sort of confirmation that it does or does not work that way. Okay, so moving on from Spell Demon Hunter, I have no idea what this deck is. So Corb, I'm just gonna kind of let you take it away with this because I have no idea what you were doing with this.
We're talking about Cube Rogue Meowth. Woo! No, okay. Let me break it down for you. You know that new like the 4 mana card, the 4/4 Rogue card, the Death Rattle Meowth, the Death Rattle, the one that gets you
the new
a
Kobold
minion.
Illusionist, yeah.
Yeah, the new Kobold. So here's my genius plan that I went for. I played Sketchy, which would get me the 4 mana card, and it would get me a 1 mana cube, right? And then I would play the Illusionist or whatever. It is called Illusionist, right?
Yeah,
Or am I-
Kobold.
Yeah,
Sketchy
no,
Illusionist.
the 4 mana one, the new one.
Yeah.
Sketchy Illusionist or something, I think is the name, but
Whatever, the 4 mana card. I play the 4 mana card, then I cube it, which gets me more cubes. And then that pops, and then I play it, and then I get more cubes. And then I keep getting cubes, and I eventually have infinite cubes. And it's actually a lot of cubes. like, do you guys know infinite cubes is a lot? So when you partner that up with things like Snowfall Graveyard, I just had a full board of cubes and a full hand of cubes, and all the cubes had cubes in them. And and trust me, I did not win that game because the quest page went face. But if I was playing against a Reno Warlock, it was over for them. It would have been an instant W. So I had a lot of fun with this. I don't know if I won a game, but I had a lot of fun with it. Like I said, so yeah, that was the best thing I could come up with the new legendary. Not the legendary, the new 4-drop, and trying to abuse that. It was very fun.
that's actually
That sounds to me like a lot of minions are dying for a Professor Putricide. Like, did he get involved at all?
He did not, but I'm reconsidering the refinement of my cube rogue.
And then you could cube a Putricide as well, and then just have a bunch of Putricides in your cubes and generate.
You don't
a bunch
have the
of
hand space
concoctions.
for all of these concoctions and cubes and putricides, though.
That's a good problem to have in my book.
Exactly.
What I'm hearing here is Corb is advocating for infinite value, and I think that's the first for this on the podcast. So we're gonna take it and we're gonna run.
I mean, it's infinite aggression value, though. the point is that he has an unclearable board that can't, that applies pressure.
That's not what I heard. Okay, I heard infinite value. All right, Corb, we're gonna come back to you for this one as well, because this is totally a U deck, right? Animate deading. I don't know how we're gonna turn that into a verb, but casting the spell animate dead and doing some shenanigans, which sounds like a very Corb thing to do.
Yeah, I tried this with like the Nazmani Malagos thing. I wanted to build Boon Priest, but wasn't good, guys. What I discovered was I was kind of like doing the Boon thing, but it was like on turn 7 or 8, and that seemed much too slow when you can currently do the Boon thing on like turn 4 or 5. So I'm not entirely sure like why you would go for this version. It was very much a throwback to like the standard version of the deck, the Nazmani Malagos thing. That was popping around there, and it does make your Nazmani sticky, but it's just such a slow payoff, which did kind of suck. So I'm not sure like what there is to do with the animate dead in Priest. I thought I would give this a really fair shot, but just wasn't currently impressed compared to what we can do with things like Handmaiden, Priest of Elish, Radiant Elemental, things like that. So a little disappointing, but one of the few things I was disappointed by. From my theory crafting, I would say.
So I guess related to Priest, I didn't play any of this Nazmani Priest, but I did play some Undead Priest, because I got beat by it really badly when my opponent played the 5-mana Legendary and res like 3 Weblords, and I was like, oh, that sounds hot. I do like that. So just playing some like Undertaker. I put Grand Mummy in a deck in 2022 because it was an Undead with Death Rattle. But every time I drew that 4-mana spell, the 4-mana draw 2, it was a 1-mana draw 2, which felt really good. And so I don't know. There might be some legs there. Maybe not this expansion, but if we get a good aggressive undead minion that priest can use, like I think the deck might actually be legit. Um, I know I'm talking about Aggro priest. So we're gonna move on to hunter here. I made it a point not to play quest hunter during the theory crafting stream. And I couldn't figure out a way to make the aggro decks work with 6 new cards, but I do think that both aggro hunter and like face hunter and quest hunter are both going to be like very powerful decks. I think moving into the new expansion.
I'm really not sure about Quest Hunter. Like,
Really?
I tried it. I was not satisfied. Part of that might have been because I was playing the Renathal version and I just happened to draw like the 6 or 7 dud cards. Like there was games where I had both Grievous, Bite, and Bowler Shot, and I queued into a Druid once, and that was by itself. It's like instantly losing, kind of. So that was a bit rough. But the 30 card Quest Hunter looks super clean. I hope that if it is a deck, that it's the 30 card version, because the 40 card is just feels so nasty to play. Running these cards that you don't really want to be including in the deck. But I think Quest Art is still going to have the problems that it had. I think it just doesn't burst through the Renathal decks that well. And I do think that like the Miracle Rogue and some of the stuff that we're going to see is still going to be a bit of a problem for it. So I wasn't too impressed by the Quest Hunter in general. And while I really like the Arcane package, I tried that in some other aggressive decks. And yeah, there's not quite enough, I don't think, in the Arcane stuff.
Did you play any of the weapon stuff with the 3/4 and the 2-drop?
Yeah, I tried that, and I'm no longer going to be trying that once the
Oh
expansion goes live.
no! All right, I might have been a little bit premature in saying that it might be good, because yeah, that's a little bit sad. Not even the face hunter stuff feels bad.
Yeah, it's sad.
All right, let's wrap it up. I guess you guys are excited, right, for brand new stuff, regardless of what we've said. I think the expansion, like you guys have said before, seems actually very powerful. Brand new class obviously is going to be exciting, and it seems like we're going to actually have a pretty significant shakeup with at least like 2 powerful decks, kind of with Aggro Paladin and Discard Warlock, and then I guess Druid being better, Twitch Chat Druid, whatever we want to call it, getting I think significantly better with a noob. So yeah, lots of sweet stuff to look forward to. And then I guess that means it's time, guys, to do the thing where we embarrass ourselves in a couple of months when we look back on this. But we're gonna time to make predictions. Let's go with our top 5 most powerful cards. A little bit harder, I guess, since we have 145 cards now to choose from instead of 130. I don't know if that influenced your or 135, but I don't know if that influenced your decisions. Made it a little bit harder, but it's time. So I guess, Roffle, you want to go first? What are your top 5 most powerful cards?
Are we going with most powerful first?
Yeah, let's go with the
All
most
right.
powerful and end with a little bit more fun, I think.
Okay.
Yeah.
These are in no particular order other than what I remembered them in. um, uh, First is a Nubricon. Like I think that this opens up just so much more mana cheat in Druid that is already excelling at cheating mana. So like it just gives another way to close out the game, or another enabler for closing out the game. Like it already has Flip Gloop, that already has the Twig Sphere, and then this just provides a little bit of redundancy in that, with the potential to further add consistency to 40 card Druid decks or Reno Druid decks or 40 card Reno Druid decks. So disgusting card. I think I slept on it, or maybe just like did the same thing that I've done numerous times now, where it's like, well, Druid already has infinite mana. What's one more thing? And it turns out that one more thing does matter. Next up is a card that we did talk about quite a bit, so I won't go into too much. But Professor Putricide, the concoctions are nuts. Generating value off of both sides of the board is obscene, and it's probably too good of a card that I can see both of these cards getting nerfed. Both of them more for standard than wild. I think that there are some combos that are a little bit spooky in standard with a Nubricon that could like get him changed a bit. And then on top of that, like I think Putricide is just going to be pretty gross. Like he's going to be a terror in standard if theory crafting is any indicator. Next up is Feldori Warband. Now it's possible I'm overvaluing this just because it was a card that I revealed, but I don't care. I think it is just an incredibly nutty card. If it's active, like this is the payoff for not running spells in your deck, hands down. Or not running minions in your deck rather. And it seemed like I was keeping 2 copies of this in a lot of matchups just because it just wins the game against aggro. Next up, Seal of Blood. I didn't get to play this myself, but every time it was played against me, I cried, and then Meowth, it exploded my hero on like turn 5, and then I cried again. So, thanks for that. Then finally, Astalor. I think this card just does too much for what it is. Like the fact that it's gaining you armor means that it's just pretty strong in Reno deck. It shoots off minions, very strong in the early game or early-ish game for Reno decks to clear stuff off. And then it's like also a single card finisher, even like in Druid obviously, but even outside of Druid, like if you just play the on curve stuff, it's pretty good. It got compared to Pyros a lot, but like it does more than just the value things. So like I'm not. That's not an accusation, Meowth. I saw it was outside of. It's outside of Meowth. It's just.
I was like, damn, dude, shots before I even get to defend myself. Damn.
No. I like that wasn't even targeted at you. I saw it far more frequently elsewhere than we discussed here on the pod. Because first of all, Death Rattle isn't Battlecry. We talked about this a lot last week. We don't need to rehash that. But then like it's doing more than just generating value in your hand. It's like actually playing for the board, which was the big part.
Yeah, I think very solid top 5. Corb, I know we have a little bit of overlap here, or a lot of overlap. But do you
a little
want to go
bit, yeah.
Your top 5?
Yeah, I'm glad you said Ruffles was solid because we have 4
I just
for 5.
Years. I swear I didn't copy your homework.
Yeah, we have 4 for 5 of the same here, Roffle and I. So I'll just like give notes on them where I think it's appropriate. Potion March or Puget Side. I think there's a very good chance that Miracle Concoction Rogue next expansion is like bordering on tier 0. Like I'm just gonna put that out there as a prediction. Like I was so impressed. Like the deck has already had such a great foundation, and I was so impressed with these cards. And Putricide is the star. Like this card will get nerfed. Like I will just put guarantee this card will get nerfed. So there we go. Anubrakan is another card I think is an excellent nerf target. Potentially again we talked about it a lot. I think it's very impressive in already established Druid archetypes. Seal of Blood, good stats. Yep. I also had Astalor Bloodsworn. It's much better than I thought. I think. Like when I first saw the card revealed. I can't remember if we talked about it immediately on the show or not, but I thought it was solid. Like I could see it in free Shaman, see it in Reno decks, but my stock for Astalor Bloodsworn has gone up a lot. Where I am very impressed with it now in just the various Reno slower decks that we have, and it'll just be a generic win condition, which is great for Renathal decks because they don't need synergy; they need generic win conditions. So it's great in those. And the last one I had is Shadow of Demise, which I think can potentially be a very strong card in the Miracle Concoction deck. It's very good as a concoction itself, but I think it's just flexible enough where it'll also push something like Pillager Rogue even further. I think Pillager Rogue is going to take another leap forward, which is always terrifying. But yeah, those are my top 5. I definitely didn't steal them from Roffle.
Yeah, you let it be on the record that Corb submitted his homework first, so if anybody did steal stuff, it was me and Roffle.
True. But yeah. I was not looking at his. I promise. That's all I can. That's all I can say.
Sure. Also, put it on the record here with a couple of shout-outs that Corb had about Putricide and Concoction Miracle Rogue, so that we can come back in 2 months. And if Miracle Rogue ends up being like tier 4, we can laugh at him. It's not going to happen, but just putting it out there. I also stole a little bit of Corb's homework, so we talked about Anubrakan and Putricide to death, so I'm not going to talk too much about them here. I do like Astalor. I know I kind of compared it to Pyros when we were talking about it on the podcast. Obviously, it is better, right? I still haven't seen it anywhere that's not Druid, and Druid makes everything look better. And so until like the expansion comes out and we like get to see it in stuff like Reno Priest or Reno Paladin or Reno Warlock or Free Shot. Like until I see it in something that's not Druid, I'm gonna like reserve my judgment a little bit. But it's been insane in Druid, so I feel like I have to put it in here, hedge my bets a little bit, in the top 5. The next one I have is Soul Barrage. A little bit biased about just how much Discard Warlock I played, because not only was it fun, but like being able to go Tome Tampering, make a board, and then deal 12 minimum with Soul Barrages or clear the board, like feels actually just insane. And then when you like loop Tome Tamperings with this, and you just like kill your opponent on turn 4, turn 5 with damage from hand, like I think that's like, of all the new cards that Discard Warlock got, this is the one that's like, oh, okay, yeah, this makes Discard Warlock like really good. Because, you know, by the way, damage is good. And then my last card here on the list is a little bit of copium, I guess, where I have Conjured Arrow. So this is the arcane spell that deals 2 damage with Mana Thirst. Draw that many cards. And I think this card is just like insane when it's active, right? It's just, will the Arcane Face Hunter, will the Quest Hunter be good enough? Like, will this make those decks good enough, I guess is the question, because they are not really decks right now. But I think if there is a card that's going to do it, I think Conjured Arrow is like very powerful, and it's probably just one of those cards where it's powerful but doesn't have an appropriate home yet. But I am pretty high on Conjured Arrow itself, and that might be the one I look really stupid on in a couple of months when Quest Hunter is still terrible. But yeah, it looks like we had a lot of agreement here with Astalor, Nubricon, and Putricide. Like, seems like those are the 3 staples that you're going to be seeing a lot of, I think, from this expansion.
Yeah, definitely. I think out of the cards you've got, I think Soul Barrage, leaving that off, is the one that's like the most risky, that makes me look stupid, because there's a very good chance like Discard Warlock is the nuts, and you know, yeah, everyone's like, oh my god, I can't believe you didn't have a Discard Warlock card. So good hedging the bets there, Meowth.
Yeah. I've learned my lesson from the previous times that we've done this. You know, just a little bit of everything on the top 5 list. All right, speaking of, let's move on to the one where you can't actually be wrong. Talking about our top 5 favorite cards of the set. Basically, these are the cards that you're just the most excited to play with. Every time you play it, you're going to have a little bit of a smile on your face. And we started with Roffle last time. Corb, let's start with you with your 5 favorite cards from the new set.
Sure, these 2 come together. We have a Potion Belt and Ghoulish Alchemist. These are the, you know, Conj Discover card, and then the 2 mana that makes your Conj cost, cost 0. I don't know, Concoction Rogue is so fun. Like, I had such a good time playing Concoction Rogue. So I think, I don't know, it's a very satisfying, fun package. I love these cards. Soul Eater Scythe, very cool. I think it's one of my favorite, because I think the design of it, we talked about it last week when we were going over it. I think the design is so smart, and just like, it's just perfect, the way they've kind of like leaned into the spell archetype, which people love so much. But they've taken out the most feels bad part. You know, they're still letting you play the fun finishes in a spell deck, so I think it's just awesome. And it just looks pretty, and the animation's great. It's just perfect. It's amazing. The next thing I have is Halderon Brightwing, but mostly just the Arcane Hunter package in general. Like, that entire package I think is very, very sweet, and I hope that I don't have a ton of hope for it like right now this second, but I think the cards in general are very cool, and I hope that we get more Arcane synergy in the future for Wild, because I think it's the sweet thing to lean into. And last but least, sadly, we have Magister's Apprentice. A throwback to my darling, Sorcerer's Apprentice. I don't think this one is going to be quite as good, but you can probably catch me playing APM Mage in 3 months, just barely clinging onto a 35% win rate. So I'm really looking forward to that as well.
Classic Corb. All right, Roffle, what about you for your top 5 favorite?
Sure. First and foremost, Vampiric Blood. I mentioned it when we were talking about Blood Death Knight. Like, it's become a meme in my channel that I was addicted to playing Ghastly Gravedigger, because I would just like bounce it, play it, and do that as many times as possible, even when it made no sense to do. I had to catch myself multiple times, like about to shadow step it when my opponent's hand was empty after like hitting them with multiple Gravediggers in a turn. Vampiric Blood was much the same way. I was just like trying to generate as many Vampiric Bloods as possible, And I was never disappointed when I did. I did it was a meme, but like it also just kind of felt good to like gain 10 health and cycle a card every time that I generated it. So I just love the card. I basically turns you into a raid boss. It's great. It's the thing I enjoyed the most about playing Blood Death Knight, so I'm going to continue doing that. Next up is again, I didn't copy Corp's homework. Soul Eater Scythe. Having revealed this card in the entire package, I've probably got a bit of a soft spot for this and will going forward. The animation is sweet. Just reiterating all the things that Corp said, it makes it like the spell or no minion archetype that we've seen in the past just feel a lot better than anything else in some of the other archetypes. Next up, because I'm evil, is Patchwork. This card also so much fun to play, man. I like it. I felt bad because like when I was playing standard, I scammed Regis a couple times when he was trying to do a cool combo, and I'm just like, sorry, but like I like Patchwork and I'm not gonna stop. So this is another one where you can generate additional copies of it, you can bounce it. It's just great fun. It's Mutanus but better. And then next up is a card that's probably fun for everybody, right? Energy Shaper. This is the 4-mana mage card that like transforms spells in your hand. I think that like if the Grand Magister or whatever type of archetype is at all relevant, it'll probably be more because of this card than because of him. Just because like we've seen similar cards in the past with Deck of Lunacy. This is effectively like a Deck of Lunacy for your hand, and that like not having to draw the cards is a big benefit. So I think this card probably isn't like strong in wild, but has the potential to like actually make it a coherent playable deck so that you can actually do things. It's gonna fizzle out and fail. It's gonna have a massive failure rate, but I think it maybe bumps it up closer to like a Burgle Rogue type thing than just like a pure like like beat punching bag meme deck that like Casino Mage was in the past. So I think it like actually makes it playable, which is nice. And then finally, Anachronos. I didn't get a chance to play this yet, but like I talked a big game about Dragon Paladin going in, and I stand by that. I think this card is really cool. If Dragon Paladin can, live up to any of my expectations, even like a fraction of them, it will probably be because of this card. And I think it gives like a Reno Paladin a little bit more life. That, like, I think Reno Paladin is another deck that could probably make good use of Astalor as well. And so, there's a few good things that Reno Paladin probably gets this expansion, and this is one of them.
Yeah. I do love how when Roffle's on, he's always got these. He's always got the mage card that says random spells. It's always.
It's one of my favorite things.
Yeah. All right. I saw all of y'all's homework, and I'm not ashamed. I also have Patchwork in here. I know Mutanusing a key combo piece is one of the most satisfying feelings right now in current Wild, and being able to do that while also deleting a key combo piece from the opponent's deck is going to be even more satisfying. It's like the main appeal of playing Death Knight to me right now is playing as many Patchworks as physically possible. And so I'm kind of in the same boat as Roffle with that one. Me and my Paladin decks. Sealed Blood is, gonna have to take the place of Conviction for me for now. But curving Crab Rider into this is just absolutely insanely gross. And just like a little bit of a side note, kind of just Katori with this is just chef's kiss. So yeah, Sealed Blood. I'm gonna be playing a lot of aggro tax Paladin, Web Lords and Crab Riders galore. Also Soul Eater Scythe. The archetype's really sweet. I think the design's really, really sweet. A little bit of shout-outs. We now have Corb and Roffle with reveals, and so they're always going to hold a special place in my heart because you guys are friends. But I also think, I don't know if you guys have seen the animation with the Scythe, that the legendaries look different. If you have a golden legendary, I don't know if that's hinting at anything, but they look... they look so good.
I had the same exact reaction. I was just like, that's just how the card should look.
Yeah, exactly. But yeah, Scythes are super sweet. I don't know if I'm going to be playing a ton of this deck in Wild, but I'm going to be playing a ton of this deck in Standard as I try to grind like the 1,000 wins because I think it'll be a lot better there. But I played a little bit of this on stream, and it was a ton of fun. And honestly, like we were talking about a little bit earlier, might not actually be that bad. It might actually hold some legs in Wild as well. I cheated a little bit here. I didn't pick a single card. I just picked all of the concoction rogue stuff because they all kind of are going to go together in the same deck. I didn't play much of it. I was playing like a bad version of it off stream, but watching Corb play some concoction miracle rogue seems like I was just like, damn, this looks really really fun. And so
Was.
yeah okay. So we'll see how long it goes until Peter Side gets nerfed, but probably play a lot of that as well week 1. And then as is tradition, I also have a little bit of a soft spot for the Enraged Warrior cards as well. And so I picked up Light of the Phoenix here as my last choice on the list. Better Battle Rage for Enraged Warrior. I did get hit by this with from Dane, and it was 0 mana draw 2 on turn 3, and I was like, well, that's kind of busted. And so hopefully it makes Enraged Warrior a little bit more of a real deck, a little bit more of a real boy. I'm still very skeptical about the buff card, but I do think Light of the Phoenix is insane, and Enraged Warrior is a ton of fun to play, so going to be doing some of that. But yeah, that's going to wrap it up with preview season. I feel like we've been doing this for forever. Like a month and a half. But that brings about the end. Man, how excited are you guys for this new expansion?
Very excited. I enjoyed the Murder at Castle Nathria expansion. I feel like this is maybe hopefully a good extension of that rather than like a dramatic shift, I think is what I'm expecting and hopeful for. So yeah, very much looking forward to Tuesday.
Definitely. I'm so curious about the Death Knight stuff and how it's gonna all hold up. I'm so excited that I don't want to play Hearthstone right now. I don't want to go back to the previous expansion. I want to get my new cards, and so yeah, I'm just holding off until then.
Yeah, same. Hopefully, all you guys that are listening are super excited for the expansion as well. And as a thanks for listening all the way to the end of this episode, and I think to the end of all of our extremely long card review episodes, we do have a couple of bundles to give away courtesy of Blizzard. So thank you to the Blizzard team. And so all you have to do to enter, these are completely free to enter. Just click the link down below in the description or the pinned comment, answer a couple of questions, and you'll be entered to win. We'll be giving them away by the end of the day, Tuesday. So hopefully that you guys will get them just in time to play with the brand new expansion. And with that being said, or go ahead.
Yeah, that should be one standard bundle and one mega bundle. So.
Thank you for that. Yeah, so with that all being said, Corbin Roffle, thank you again for joining me week after week. Let the people know where they can find you on Tuesday playing the new stuff and a bunch of the new content.
Yeah, I'll be trying out all the decks that I didn't get a chance to theorycraft on Tuesday at twitch.tv/Roffle, and you can find VODs over on YouTube at Roffle.
And you can find me concocting up the latest meta breakers at twitch.tv/Corbett, or you can find me at Corbettgames on Twitter and YouTube.
You can find me at Get Me Out on all those platforms as well. Hope you guys are ready for the new expansion. Hope you guys are excited. We'll see you guys again next week where we talk about our initial impressions. Take care.